Hello everyone, this is Sandy in Talk of Thailand. Last week we went up, we had a bit of a break and went up to Buriram and to Syren. The primary purpose of this was to visit my wife's relatives who have rice farms, quite a lot of rice farms in Syren and around that area. However, the problem with Syren being it's in the same restrictive zone as Pattaya, in that it's in a deep red zone, which means that the restrictions are quite high. Whereas Buriram, where we decided to base ourselves, is in the orange zone, which restrictions are not so strict as obviously the deep red zone. However, many restrictions apply to both, particularly things like the sales of alcohol in restaurants and bars, etc. So I was very surprised about what I saw up there, and I want to tell you about what I saw there because in fact, it shocked me a little bit. Also, I saw other problems up there, virtually that came from the climate control problems we got, and I'd like to show you them also and discuss what the long-term implications of what I saw up there on the future of the locals here in Thailand and how it's going to affect them quite badly. So if you're interested, please keep watching. So, about 2 years ago, before the start of the pandemic, I bought myself a new drone, a DJI Mini 2, which was one of the in vogue drones at that time, but I've had very little chance to use it, so I thought I would get some practice flying it while we were done this trip up to the farms, with it being nice flat land and give me a chance to get used to it. So we did that, and I thought, well, this may be a more interesting background to listen to me than to watch me ramble on. So this is some of the footage I took whilst I was up in, whilst we were in Syren itself or on the rice farms, and you might be interested in what you see here. So we travelled up here on a Tuesday, and we spent, there was supposed to be a big festival on the Wednesday afternoon stroke evening in Syren, so we decided to book into a holiday resort called the Legacy Csun City, and that's situated halfway between Syren and Buriram, but very close to my wife's relatives' farm. So that suited us very well. It was recently constructed, and I'll do a video on that very soon. Actually, it was a nice place to stay. A lot of problems because of the pandemic, but it was we decided to spend 2 nights there. But the second day, when the festival was supposed to take place, the weather was pretty bad, pretty rainy, and they decided they weren't going to try and start it till 8 o'clock at night, which was going to be dark, and we would have to drive back after that. So we scrubbed around the idea of getting that particular festivity on camera. So on the Tuesday when we arrived and we booked into this Csun Resort, once we'd finished visiting her relatives, etc., we wanted to go to the resort and get everything put back there and get ready for the evening, and then we wanted to get something to eat. Now, unfortunately, Syren is a very big farming community, well spread out, and people don't have a lot of money to spare there, and consequently, after 5 o'clock at night, after 5 o'clock at night, there is no restaurants or eateries outside of the main town of Syren itself, because everybody closes down, and as farmers they go to bed early, so it's not worth any restaurants staying open. So it's a bit quiet and boring place, Syren, actually, if you're not into farming. Although it's got a lot of history with elephants. Well, consequently, because we couldn't find something in the resort, the restaurant was closed in the resort, and we decided we had to drive into Syren City to get something to eat, which we did. And we drove in there, and we got into Syren, parked up, and then we went and found this restaurant. It was quite a big restaurant, and I was looking at the menu, and I happened to glance in because it was all open fronted, and I seen there was quite a few people in there. But what astounded me right away in this high red zone was that on every table there was beer bottles and that, and people were drinking. I thought, wow, the restaurants up here are licensed to sell alcohol. Wonderful. So we went in and we ordered our meal, and just before the waitress went away, I said, I'll have a bottle of beer, please. She said, sorry, we're not allowed to sell alcohol. So I said to her, pardon? And I looked around and said, well, what about all these people here? They're all drinking alcohol. She says, yes, they go to that shop, and she pointed at a shop a couple of 100 yards down the street. She said, you can go down there and you can buy your beer, and you're welcome to come back and drink it here at the table. She said, we don't mind that, but we don't want to get into trouble with the police. Oh, well, I understood that, and it's certainly better than what we got at Pattaya, because everybody in Pattaya and the restaurants we visited are very, very afraid about anybody drinking alcohol, whether they brought it in or not, in case they get into trouble. So I thought, well, that's a good idea. So I decided I was going to go and get a bottle of beer or a can of beer to drink with my dinner. Now, on the way down to the shop, I had to pass two bars, both under expat management, by the way, and as I passed them, I noted that they were open, fully open, and there was people inside, and they were drinking. And the first bar, which was a English-based bar, was not too busy, but there were still people in there drinking. And then we went on, I passed the next bar, which is a Norwegian bar, and it was absolutely full. And people were laughing, and there was music, and they were drinking, and as though there was no COVID. And that shocked me, because that's Syren, and they're in a deep red zone as well. It's similar to Pattaya. So it comes to mind that either they're really risking getting arrested and all these significant problems that might go with that, or they've come to an agreement with the police in some way that they won't prosecute them, or thirdly, maybe the officials in Syren are not interested in the government restrictions. So that's a form of anarchy. It really is. It's you're ignoring the country's government restrictions and letting people get away with anarchy. I'm not saying that the people don't deserve to drink, because after they've opened the restaurants in Phuket through this stupid sandbox affair that they ran, and the restaurants could sell alcohol, we noted that the bars down there were opening as well and completely flouting the law. And they got away with it for some time until the police actually started cracking down. Well, I know that's caused a lot of problems in Pattaya, because we've got many bar owners down there. Many of them have gone bankrupt. Many of the bars have closed, been changed, been knocked down, demolished, etc. And there's other people screaming to try and get the alcohol regulations reversed so that they can open up. And it's not happening. It's not happening nationwide. Now then, they say that Pattaya is going to open on the 1st of November for tourists. I don't see how it can open. If it does open, I've just made a video about that. There's going to be restrictions, and there's going to be difficulties to coming into Thailand. They also declared about the same time that schools would be open on the 1st of November also, which was wonderful news to me, because I want my daughter to get back to school. But now, just with a few days to go to the 1st of November, no, it looks like the schools won't be opening because of the problems with COVID again. And I'm trying to get the 12 to 15-year-olds vaccinated now, but they haven't got sufficient vaccine in the country to do that. So all that's going by and by, which gives you an indication on how the other plans to open up Thailand are going to be severely restricted as well. Really sad, actually. Anyway, that's what we saw in Syren. And then we stayed for the 2 nights in the hotel that we booked at the Csun Resort, and then on the Thursday we moved down to Buriram and into a hotel that we stayed in before, called the Tada Chateau Hotel. It's not a spectacular hotel, it's quite an old hotel, but it's one of the best hotels I've stayed in Thailand. Their attitude towards their customers is fantastic. Breakfast runs from 6:30 in the morning through to 10:30, 4 hours. You can go back as many times as you want, you can have what you like, and they do an amazing breakfast, an absolutely amazing breakfast, and it's a fun place to be. You can have your breakfast sitting at the side of the pool, you can have it in your room, or you can eat it in the restaurant. So that's why I like it there, and it's very central in Buriram, very close to the Thunder Stadium where the Buriram football team are based. Well, when we got back to Buriram and we were the first night, we thought, okay, we need to go out and have a meal. Then once again we went out and we found a restaurant, went inside. Now this was a Thai managed restaurant and a very good restaurant also, but I won't state the name for obvious reasons just now. We went in there and I saw right away there was people drinking beer, etc. So I ordered a beer, and there was no questions about it. The beer was brought in glass, etc. So they were serving beer there, bearing in mind, of course, that Buriram is in an orange zone. So there we are, and that's why I believe we're now going into a state of anarchy in Thailand. Now then, just to get to some other points, you see, as you may have seen in this video, there is large areas of the countryside that is absolutely underwater because of heavy rain that's coming. It's not stopped, and there's heavy storms again coming this week. That's going to have a long-term effect on the rice available, etc., the price of rice, and put the prices up here in Thailand. All serious stuff. All over now, we're already seeing increasing prices on everything, actually, from fuel, diesel, gasoline, etc. The markets, the Thai markets, the veg markets, fish markets, the prices is going up astronomically. And the Thai people are already suffering. There's a lot out of work, as I've said before. There's a lot of starving people here. And there's virtually no management, and as I said earlier, I think there's a semi-state of anarchy going on in this country right now. But I hope it gets better soon and we start seeing better days. Thanks for watching, and bye for now. Bye.